Look at the time, there's 7 seconds to blow the bomb. They're trying to build pyramids, but it's no more play. Stewie's won the round. We go to overtime.
Talbot have done it! How have they done that? They came back all the way!
It's no secret that video games have become a pillar of entertainment in the last 40 years. The video game industry has more than doubled the film and music industries in revenue over the last decade, and it is now more profitable than film, music, and all major sports organizations combined. So why is it that mainstream media still doesn't fully grasp what it is to be a gamer? Most depictions of video games in film and TV look like this. Lots of button mashing, generic trash talk, some 1980s beep boop arcade garbage coming from the TV, and if the studio somehow got the rights to an actual game, it's probably just pre-recorded gameplay footage where the character on screen will continue to move long after the player has put the controller down. Now I understand that this is a phenomena that most people probably don't even notice or care about in any fashion, but it has bothered me for years to the point that I will now use our YouTube channel to rant about it. Before we get started, I am not here to discuss the turbulent history of film adaptations of video games or vice versa. We all know how those usually turn out. The point of this video is to shed some light on how movies and television generally portray gamers and video games themselves. The first example that comes to mind for me, and probably the reason for this video in general, is an episode of the hit Nickelodeon TV series Drake and Josh entitled The Bet. The episode revolves around the titular stepbrothers Drake and Josh making a bet to see who can resist their individual vices the longest, Drake's being junk food and Josh's video games. I'm honestly fine with that premise. Drake and Josh swearing off their favorite things, then taunting each other with them is a fine plot considering the age of the characters and the audience at the time. But it's the way the video games themselves are portrayed that lands this episode a spot in this video, and in my brain forever. First, after the bet has been made and Drake and Josh are both dealing with their own forms of withdrawal, Josh receives a package from his grandma containing the new state-of-the-art gaming console,
the GameSphere.
No way, the GameSphere doesn't come out for another 3 months. Never underestimate Grammy.
Who the f does Grammy know at Nintendo that got her a new console months before release? Was it you, Reggie? Did you do this? Then as a way to pressure Josh into caving on the bet, Drake hooks up the GameSphere to show off its incredible new technology, and it really is incredible, because within 15 seconds of booting up the console, Drake is already set up and playing a game on an Xbox controller. PS5 ain't got shit on those numbers. Then in the middle of the game, Drake pulls out
The wireless battle pack!
which is clearly an N64 controller with an antenna, and continues to play. Like, did you not have to switch controllers in the menu? Or is the GameSphere that intuitive that it knows when the same player switches to a new controller? Either way, modern game companies need to step their game up, because y'all still haven't caught up to GameSphere's 2004 technology. This is just one example of major networks' complete laziness when it comes to writing video games into their stories. In the Goosebumps-inspired Netflix series Creeped Out, there's an episode that revolves around Jack, a teenager who starts playing an online game with a mysterious random player, and without realizing it loses months and eventually years to the game with no memory of the time past. Again, the premise is fine for a horror show targeted at children. Jack even pulls a classic gamer move and uses a towel at the base of his bedroom door to block his mother from hearing his late-night gaming sesh with the boys. Takes me back to my middle school days playing PS2 late at night with my headphones plugged into the TV. Sorry, Mom. But can we take a look at Jack's setup for a second? He and his friends are very clearly playing on Xbox 360. Seems like they would have moved on to Xbox One or PS4 by now, but I'll move past that. But you can also clearly see the controllers that they're using are some Mad Catz looking PlayStation controllers. If you already had the Xbox in the shot, why couldn't you just take the controller that literally comes with the system to use in the shot as well? Even if you have to cover up the Xbox logo for copyright reasons, at least the controller would have matched the console. Also, you can see the light on Jack's controller flashing, which implies that it isn't actually connected to the console and it's trying to find a connection. If you're trying to give off the illusion that the character is actually playing a game, maybe don't show a close-up of the wrong controller not functioning. Also, the game they're playing looks like a 2001 Elder Scrolls knockoff, but I'll let that go. Okay, I spent a lot of time on those first two examples. Let's speed this up a bit. Now, if you're familiar with TikTok or commentary YouTube, you may have heard of Attaway General. If not, I'll summarize. It's essentially Grey's Anatomy, but with teenage TikTok stars who can't act. I don't need to go into how awful the show is. There are several much more talented YouTubers who I'm a fan of that have already done that. In one episode, there is a young patient playing what sounds like Space Invaders, and then he drops some sick-ass trash talk like he just pulled a clutch-ass 360 no-scope on some noob-ass camper in Fortnite.
Take that, you try-hard hipster.
The fuck you
say to me, you little shit?
Also, his controller doesn't seem to be on. A few years ago, I got really into the show The Good Doctor. Usually not one for medical dramas, but the acting was good and the premise was interesting. Until this scene. The main character, Sean's neighbor, comes over and says,
"So, I'm in the middle of Uncharted, and I'm dead. Can I borrow some AAAs?"
The DualShock 3 doesn't even have a battery slot. Now, if you're familiar with this channel, you already know my thoughts on Naughty Dog games. So hearing Uncharted get a name drop on a major network was pretty exciting. But to then immediately disrespect Nathan Drake's great legacy by associating him with this continuity nightmare? ABC, fight me. And then a few scenes later, Sean asks for his batteries back, and Leah pulls some batteries out of a completely different off-brand controller. What is network television's obsession with Mad Cats? Even shows I'm a fan of are guilty of this. There's a scene in How I Met Your Mother where Ted and Marshall are playing Xbox, and Ted's controller very clearly doesn't have a battery pack in it. Then a few seconds later, it looks like Marshall's controller doesn't have one either. And then the camera zooms out, and he has one again. What is happening? In The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Andy is playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with chair-mounted joysticks. No idea how that works. I was going to talk about Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd playing Mortal Kombat and just button-mashing into oblivion, but that's exactly what I look like playing Mortal Kombat, so they get a pass. Here's a scene from another one of my favorite shows, Trailer Park Boys. Corey and Jacob are playing Button Masher 64, but the sound effects are the same generic 80s arcade nonsense everyone else uses. Jacob is using a GameCube controller, and yes, I'm aware that there are adapters that make this possible, but his controller is not plugged in, and neither is the system to the TV. Copyright issues aside, don't have the console and the TV's component ports visible in the shot, and not even plug in the required cords to play. No video about misrepresentation of gamers or just nerd culture in general would be complete without The Big Bang Theory. This show's entire comedic premise seems to be nerd said nerd thing so audience laugh. There's so little substance in most jokes that it seems like the audience is just meant to laugh because the character said a science fact or made a sci-fi reference that most of the people watching didn't get.
Water demon.
Ice dragon.
While doing research for this video, I found so many tone-deaf or belittling references to video games that there was no way I could fit them all in. I don't want to spend too much time on this show, so I think the best way to get my point across is with a Big Bang Theory, lazy writing, rapid fire round. Number 1, Sheldon's mom sends him his N64 and he remarks on the memory card so he can pick up where he left off in Super Mario 64. The Super Mario 64 cartridge has built-in memory. You don't need a memory card for that game. Number 2, the nerds wear bowling league shirts when playing Wii Bowling, implying that they take it as seriously as real bowling, but in the 9th frame have a combined average score of 51 because nerd can't even be good at virtual sport. Number 3, Sheldon and Raj play Mario Kart on Wii and Sheldon holds the steering wheel like this. Number 4, Sheldon is walking around Red Dead Redemption but isn't even moving the stick. Number 5, Bernadette joins the boys in playing a Star Wars game and literally finger guns the screen while saying pew pew because girls don't know how video games work. Number 6, Sheldon introduces Penny to an online RPG and she gets obsessed with it, eventually turning into the stereotypical neckbeard gamer who doesn't shower and has Cheetos in her hair because that's what gamers look like. Number 7, Penny brings her friends over to the guy's apartment during Halo night and says this:
"Hey guys, my friends and I got tired of dancing, so we came over to have sex with you."
But because nerds only know video games, they keep on button mashing without hesitation. And that's enough, I think you get it. Despite being praised for bringing fantasy and sci-fi to mainstream television, I believe The Big Bang Theory has done far more harm than good to nerd culture by portraying the nerds in the show as nothing more than shallow caricatures. And after all that, you'd probably think that I don't have any positive examples of gaming in TV or movies. But you'd be wrong. Ha! Got you! There are actually a few shows that regularly incorporate gaming into the main plot, and do it in a way that shows a knowledge or at least an understanding of the gaming community. My first example of shows that understand gaming culture is none other than Video Game High School. Although it may not be considered mainstream due to its start as an internet series, it is on Netflix now, so I think it counts. The show revolves around a world where esports are bigger than actual sports, and skilled gamers can go to school to learn how to game professionally. Despite being aggressively campy at times, the show makes educated references to gaming, and you can tell that the creators are gamers themselves, and actually care about the way video games are portrayed in their series. I think without a doubt the best example of gaming in mainstream TV is South Park. Over the years, South Park has referenced countless real-life game franchises, characters, and consoles, even dedicating entire episodes to specific games. The 2006 episode on World of Warcraft is, in my opinion, one of the best examples of video game satire ever created. It's hilarious and pokes fun at hardcore gamers, while also using real game animations and making references to the actual creator of the game, Blizzard. And during the height of Game of Thrones' success, South Park released a 3-episode miniseries chronicling Black Friday 2013 as a Game of Thrones-esque war between PS4 and Xbox One fans. Being both a huge fan of Game of Thrones and an avid backer of Team PS4, this was an absolute dream crossover that I couldn't wait to watch every week. The creators of South Park even went on to work with Obsidian to create their own successful game franchise. Now, if you're still watching, you may be thinking to yourself, why does any of this matter? In short, it doesn't. The video game industry doesn't need mainstream television exposure to make it successful. It already is. There are plenty of people who have made a career in playing video games, either competitively or for entertainment. But it really wouldn't be that hard for TV producers and set crews to do a little more research before shooting a scene based around gaming. Let's move on from this boomer mentality of video games are just for nerds, or they rot your brain, or they're a waste of time. Video games are an incredibly innovative and exciting form of entertainment, and they should be respected in the same way that movies and television always have. Wow, for a rant video, that ended on a pretty inspirational note. This is a topic I've wanted to cover for a long time, so thank you for sticking around to the end. Let me know in the comments if you agreed or disagreed with any of the points I made, and let us know if there are any other topics you'd like us to cover in this format. Make sure to button mash the shit out of that like button. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and make sure to subscribe for more video game nonsense. Thanks again. Okay, bye.